Give me.
And I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission of Seminole County on September the 2nd, 2020. Staff present tonight is Mary Moskowitz, our Planning and Development Division Manager, Bill Wharton here, Transportation Planning Manager, Bill White, Professional Engineer, Development Review Public Works, Paul Chapak, our illustrious attorney, Matt Davidson, a principal planner, Danilee Pettick, a senior planner, and Tammy Brushwood, our clerk for the Planning and Zoning Commission. Board members present tonight are Commissioner Walter Grundhoff, Commissioner Stephen Smith, Commissioner Carissa Lawhon, and myself, Chairman Richard German. Thank you all for attending tonight. We have a quorum, so we may proceed. First item is to accept the proof of publication.
I'll make a motion to approve proof of publication.
Anybody second? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that carries. Approval of minutes of the last meeting. Anybody have any changes or comments?
No. Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Thank you. We have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Seeing none, motion carries. I don't know if we have any public present tonight yet. We'll see as we go forward. So we might as well go into new business. The first item is a technical review item. Really doesn't require a public hearing, but we usually let people speak if they so desire on these items. So Danilee, it's yours.
Good evening, Danilee Pettick, Senior Planner. The applicant is requesting approval of the SAFTA Reserve Preliminary Subdivision Plan on 9.74 acres zoned A1 agriculture. The development consists of 6 single-family residential lots with a maximum density of 1 dwelling unit per net buildable acre. The property has an existing home that will remain as part of the subdivision, and any non-conforming structures will be removed prior to construction of the remaining subdivision. The SAFTA Reserve PSP was previously approved on June 5th, 2013 by the Planning and Zoning Commission. However, the final plat was never completed. The PSP complies with Chapter 35 subdivision regulations of the Seminole County Land Development Code, as well as the Wekiva River Protection Area and State Road 46 Scenic Corridor overlay requirements. All internal roads will be private and the lots will be on septic. Seminole County is the utility provider for water. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the preliminary subdivision plan for the SAFTA Reserve subdivision as requested. Thank you.
Thank you, Danilee. Discussion, any questions of staff by any member of the board?
No.
The applicant, I don't believe, is present but not required to be. So without question, anybody want to make a motion on this item?
I can make a motion to approve the preliminary subdivision plan for the Sabita Reserve subdivision containing 6 residential lots on 9.74 acres, zoned A1 agricultural, located on the south side of West State Road 46, approximately a half-mile east of Longwood Markham Road.
Okay, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? See no one, motion carries. Next item is a motion that has been continued from actually our last 2 meetings, but our most recent 8/5/20, which is the mobility fee code amendment. Bill, you're up.
Yes, sir. Just as you just stated, this was continued from your last meeting. Had additional questions for staff. Since then, on the direction of the county manager's office, we have asked to withdraw this from tonight's meeting. We'll come back before you, but it may be still another month or 2.
What are you doing, Bill? Just out of curiosity. By the way, we'll miss you because you've become a regular here.
Ah,
Well, thank you. Not sure the exact meaning. I got the notice from email and it was short and sweet.
What do you do? Are you reworking or what are you doing? Are you trying to respond to some of our concerns and?
Well, part of that is from our side, but again, it came out of the county manager's office, and I'm not sure the exact reason behind it.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Bill.
Yes, sir.
Seeing you for a while, but I guess we'll see you.
I'll be, like I said, I'll be back in a month or two. So
Okay, thanks, Bill.
Since
Yes,
this is
sir.
withdrawn, this is withdrawn, there's no motion necessary.
that's correct.
To continue, we'll just move on to item number 3. Who's doing that? Matt, you're doing that.
Yes, sir. Matt Davidson, Principal Planner with the Planning and Development Division. I do apologize for the lack of video, but I do not have a webcam on my laptop. I will proceed accordingly. The applicant is requesting a large-scale future land use map amendment from low-density residential and industrial to low-density residential and a rezone from A1 agriculture and M1 industrial PD plan development in order to develop the subject property as a single-family residential subdivision with a maximum density of 4 dwelling units per net buildable acre for a maximum of 109 residential lots. The proposed development program includes 3 phases. Phase 1 and 2 will consist of lots with a minimum lot size of 6,000 square feet and a minimum lot width of 50 feet. Phase 3 along the eastern perimeter will include lots with a minimum lot size of 9,000 square feet with a minimum lot width of 75 feet. The subject property currently has a mix of low-density residential and industrial future land use designations, allowing for residential development of 4 dwelling units per net buildable acre and industrial uses with a floor area ratio of 0.65. The proposed future land use map amendment would change the future land use of approximately 16.5 acres of the overall property from industrial to low-density residential. The remaining portion of the property currently has low-density residential future land use. Recent development in the vicinity of the subject property has been residential in nature. There's a detached single-family subdivision called Cadence Park, which was approved for 95 lots, and a townhome subdivision called Windsor Square, which was approved for 66 townhome units. Both projects fronting on North Ronald Reagan Boulevard to the north of the subject property. The Midway Commerce Center Industrial Park to the west of the property was developed in the 1980s. There is currently no viable access from the existing industrial park to the subject property. The property directly adjacent to the west was developed as a single-family mobile home subdivision known as Midway Park. It was platted in 1926 as 166 25-foot wide lots. The 166 platted lots have been parceled off into 63 separate parcels that have a mixture of manufactured homes and detached single-family residences. The applicant proposes access through the Midway Park subdivision via a short network of low-volume, non-standard local road segments that include Avalona Drive, Bryant Avenue, and a direct connection onto Midway Drive. These road segments are located within 50-foot public right-of-ways. For public works, these local roads currently operate at acceptable levels of service and will continue to do so if the project is constructed. However, local roadway improvements are needed to meet the minimum requirements of the Seminole County Land Development Code, and very importantly, to address the potential for safety issues as the current local roadways are not designed for the increased traffic the proposed project would generate. The developer will be required to improve the access non-standard roadways out to Ronald Reagan Boulevard to meet county standards for width and structure, including drainage improvements and the collection of stormwater in accordance with the Seminole County Land Development Code. The developer will also be required to build a 5-foot sidewalk from the proposed development out to Ronald Reagan Boulevard. Should the developer desire to enhance the aesthetics of portions of the Avalona Drive, Bryant Avenue, and Midway Drive, the developer will be required to enter into an agreement with Seminole County in order to accomplish any off-site right-of-way enhancements, if deemed acceptable to the county. The agreement will define the conditions and maintenance of the enhancements, which will be subsidiary to the required roadway, drainage, sidewalk, and utility improvements. This agreement, along with the abutting property owner's consent when deemed applicable, will be formalized during the subdivision review process. The proposed plan development zoning classification is compatible with the surrounding trend of development in the area and is consistent with both the allowable use and density provisions of the low-density residential future land use designation. The proposed master development plan provides sufficient buffering between the proposed development's maximum density of 4 dwelling units per net buildable acre and the adjacent median density residential and industrial future land use designations to the west that allow a density of 10 dwelling units per net buildable acre and a maximum floor area ratio of 0.65 respectively. That finds a proposed low-density residential future land use designation and plan development zoning classification to be consistent with the comp plan and compatible with the trend of development in the area. Therefore, staff recommends the Board of County Commissioners transmit proposed ordinance enacting a large-scale future land use map amendment to state and regional review agencies, and subject to final approval, approve the associated rezone ordinance, development order, and master development plan for approximately 31.52 acres. Thank you.
Any questions of Matt before we move to the applicant?
Yeah. Oh, go
Okay.
ahead, Carissa.
Marissa, you go first.
Okay. I was just wondering, I didn't think I saw anything about buffers to the north. Is that because Cadence already has something?
Yes, because they have the exact same density, what they're proposing as what Cadence was approved at, and they already have a 10-foot buffer track there, I believe.
Okay.
Matt, I have a question. The existing roadways that run through this Midway Park, how much right of way does the county have through Midway Park? And is there enough for them to construct the road improvements along with the sidewalks without acquiring land from the owners?
Well, based on the subdivision plat that was approved in 1926, the county has approximately 50 feet of right-of-way width out there, but Bill White can speak to the improvements that are going to be required and if that's enough room for them to fit all that in there.
Okay.
Thanks, Matt. I just have one thing, Matt. If I read this correctly, it surprised me. Their minimum lot size is proposed to be 75 by 120. Is that correct? That's correct, right?
That's for their phase 3 that's adjacent to the A1 and
Oh, and then 50 by 120 on the other phase?
yes, sir. That's phases
Okay.
1 and 2 will be 50
I
by
got it.
120, which is the same as what Cadence Park was approved at.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Any other questions of staff? Looks like Mr. Daly, you're present, so you're up. Tom?
Can you hear me?
Yep, can now.
Okay, good. I've got a couple exhibits that Mary's going to help me go through. My name is Tom Daly, Daly Design Group, 913 North Pennsylvania Avenue, Winter Park, Florida, 32789. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Trim Development. Matt did a really good description of what we're proposing. This is an aerial photo, showing kind of the relationship to everything around it. You can see you had mentioned, Commissioner Lohan, the Cadence Park. It's 95 units, mostly 50 foot by 100 foot. As part of their PD, they had a provision for 75-foot wide lots along the eastern perimeter for the properties that access Thomas Stable Road, and that's where we get into the vision. To the south, we have the railroad tracks and then industrial behind it. To the southwest, we have industrial park, the Midway development, Midway Park, which I'll talk a little bit more about. And then to the east, we have a number of 2.5 acre sites that are accessed off of Thomas Stable Road. Thomas Stable is a 25-foot easement. And so that's it. Can you go to the next slide, please? Like Matt said, existing future land use. Part of this application is that the existing future land use on the southern 16 acres is industrial, but there's no access to that portion. And so part of what we're asking for is a transmittal to change that future land use of industrial to low density residential. Like I said, it's disconnected not only by access, but by the railroad corridor from any other properties. So viability of it being industrial is very, very limited. Go to the next slide, please. This is the zoning, the Cadence Park up there. That's a PD. We're proposing to do a land development also for our zoning, which would convert the agriculture, and then also the industrial PD very, very similar to what was approved and is currently being constructed for Gaten Park. Next slide, please. This is our plan. As you know, we've submitted a master development plan as part of that. A little clarification regarding the phase 3. You can see the line on the right-hand side, eastern. We are proposing in phase 3 the estate lots to be along the common property line of the eastern boundary. That is consistent with Cadence Park. The remainder of phase 3 would be 50-foot by 120-foot lot. You can see that green in the center. That's a potential wetland that we are currently getting flagged and surveyed. The yellow line to the left, where it says Midway, Bryant, Avalona, we went through quite a bit of effort with Bill White, your staff. We had, I want to say, 3 to 4 meetings on site with the county staff to discuss the corridor, to discuss options, what can be done, what can't be done. And South Street's a 30-foot right-of-way, which is down there on the bottom of Midway Park. So we couldn't use that. Sunnyside Lane, which is directly east of us, is also a 30-foot right. And again, this was all platted in 1920s. And so the corridor that we're showing in yellow is 50-foot, 60-foot, and 50-foot right-of-way, which is really the only legal corridor that we could use to access the property. Like I said, we've met multiple times. We've come up with some conditions on the development order that lay the framework for moving forward, with regards to, what we can do. The current roadway situation out there is that, these are all substandard roads. There are no utilities to these 63 residents in Midway Park, and no really functioning stormwater management system. And so what we've been working towards is with your staff is to discover ways that we can improve that situation. Certainly we have to bring water and sewer through that corridor, which will bring fire hydrants. It will bring potable water to the folks that live along that corridor. Could potentially bring in sanitary sewer. Our sewer line is now a force main, but part of our discussions with public utilities was that trying to see if we could meld in some of our improvements so that we can actually bring in some sanitary sewer that folks could hook up to. And everything's on well and septic. It's just a forgotten little place in Seminole County. And there are a number of places, just up and down Ronald Reagan that are like this. And a lot of times when developers come in, it creates a catalyst for other improvements. Like I said, we've been working real hard with your staff on that. And, we've put provisions in the development order that kind of lead a path forward for us on that. We sent out 63 community meeting notices, everybody that lived there in Midway Park. And then we also sent to all the folks on Thomas Stable that lived, on that 25-foot easement. And one of the provisions along Thomas Stable Road was that through this zoning, we are prohibiting any access to Thomas Stable Road. Right now, the current landowner uses Thomas Stable to, ingress and egress his site. And so that's a big provision that we felt was important to make clear at the zoning level. Letters that we sent out to all the folks in Midway had this corridor identified, talked about, some of the things that we're going to be doing. We will, once we get beyond this transmittal process and initial zoning where we're at, we'll go out and start surveying and really nailing down what we can do. We can build a county right-of-way for sure within or a county standard road. Some of the questions, we've got some existing trees we want to save. We have see if there's opportunities to enhance the stormwater management of this corridor and other portions of it. And so when we come back with a preliminary subdivision plan, you're going to see all of those details that we're going to be discovering over the next couple. Let's see. School capacity is good. We have a total of, along that yellow line, we have a total of 12 homes, and I say homes, a couple structures, the rest being mobile homes. And then we have 16 on the Bryant and Avalona corridor. So directly, we have 18 homes that are fronting along Midway and Bryant and Avalon. I guess I just want to kind of leave you with that we've been working very hard with your staff. We've been working very hard in this difficult time to reach out to the community, to let them know what we're doing, and to let them know what Common Stable Road, what we're not doing, what we're not accessing. So this plan here that we're proposing, and we'll go to the last slide, please, Mary. This is the conceptual site plan for it. The green lots are the lots that are fronting on Thomas Stable. That will be the 75-foot wide lots. The remainder will be the 50 by 120, consistent with Cadence. And so for that, I appreciate staff's recommendation for approval, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Tough site, Tom.
Yes, sir.
What do you think you're gonna do with the potential wetlands? Just, you call them potential. You think you'll probably lose some of that, or what do you think?
No, we're flagging it. We've got some initial survey, and it's going to be preserved
Okay.
along with the associated buffers.
Okay. Questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I want to go back to my right-of-way question. So you have enough, with a 50-foot right-of-way, you have enough to put the sidewalks in and curb and gutter and go ahead and get the streets up to county standard? Am I to understand that's enough?
Well, yes, the right-of-way is adequate. The minimum county standard for a right-of-way is 50 foot for a county road. The cross-section and the how much sidewalk, whether we're allowed to do 2 sidewalks, whether we have the room for it. This will be a modified road section, and I think Bill White can maybe explain that better. But because there's no master stormwater ponds in this area, we're going to be utilizing roadside swales to kind of collect and treat some of that water before it exits the south. And so it won't be exactly a county standard road. And that's why there's a provision in the development order that addresses, to the greatest extent practical, I think is the term that Bill and his group was using. In answer to your question, Commissioner Smith, right-of-way is adequate to construct these kind of improvements to the county standards of 24-foot wide pavement, at a minimum, a sidewalk on one side of the road. And so that this is the corridor that we've discovered will satisfy that requirement.
Okay,
So
thank
you'll have minimum pavement width, Tom?
24.
24?
Yep.
Okay.
And I say that with a caveat, there's some big trees on Midway that we might snake around, big oak trees. So again, we're just trying to be least impactful and most beneficial to the community in this area.
Tom, when you met with the residents, how did they feel about this improvement through their 1926 RV park or a mobile home park and not residential area? What was their? How did they feel about it?
Well, because of COVID, we weren't able to have a formal meeting. We sent out 63 notices of what we were doing with maps and exhibits. I got one phone call from a landlord who rents property out there, kind of asking, you want to buy our land, so to speak. But other than that, I have not received any comments. I believe staff has received one comment from a gentleman that lives on Midway, but I have had no response from anybody along that corridor. And that was all put out in July, mid-July. It's when we put those community letters out.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
The important thing, Tom, is you made an effort. I like that. Still a tough deal to access, but I guess there's no other way to go on this piece of property. Anybody else? Questions?
You could go by rail, Richard.
Yeah, or try to build a road somehow to cross the tracks. If you ever want to try that, you'll be there for years.
Tom, is that still a functioning CSX right of way? I mean, is there still train traffic on that?
I'm not sure. I was trying to discover that. It looks pretty cleared and maintained to me. So I would assume, I honestly didn't go, you can look at the tracks and see if they're shiny.
Yeah.
Smooth. I honestly did not look at that. But we have to buffer it anyway with regard, for county buffer standards for it.
Right.
I just don't know. I can't answer. But I'll look at it before we get to the Board of County Commissioners for sure.
Okay, thank you.
This is a public hearing. Mary, do we have anybody? And Tom, you'll get to rebut if there's any body from the public commenting.
Yes, I just brought in Adam Jackson, and if I have another hand raised as well, and if there's anybody in the audience that would like to speak, they can use the raised hand feature, and I will bring them in.
All right, Mr. Jackson, please state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes, please.
My name's Adam Jackson. I live at 5114 Sunnyside Avenue.
Okay, go ahead. Do you have a comment on this
I
application?
have several comments, actually.
All right.
For the record, I have not received any notification other than the public notice from, I believe his name is Matthew. Yeah, Matt Davison. That's the only notice I have had about this subdivision going in. That's the only communication I've had. There most definitely should be a meeting for all of the public in Midway Park to voice their opinion and concerns upon this. I recently have purchased this property within the past decade and got it paid off with the intentions of putting a stable home here. And this completely is going to change how everything works around here. It was a nice, quiet neighborhood, and now it's proposing, 109 homes with traffic of 109 more vehicles down this quiet little road. I am very much opposed to that. I specifically purchased this property for a safe haven to raise my daughter. I'm a single parent. I've been raising her solo for 8 years, and that's why I bought this property. It's because it was safe. And now you're going to have 109 more residents, which most of them are going to have 2 vehicles, creating a lot of noise, driving up and down the road at all times of the night. Is there any proposed sound barrier?
We'll have the applicant answer any of that, Mr. Jackson. You have a, where do you live on, you live right on the road that's going to be impacted? Is that where you live?
I live right next to Midway Drive. The backyard, there's an alleyway, and then there's another resident, and then there's Midway Drive.
Thank you. You have anything else you want to add to this?
Absolutely. The new subdivision that was put in next door, that is currently using Ronald Reagan, their stormwater is already increasing the flow through the canal that's beside my house. And during the last hurricane, the bridge washed out. I don't know if anybody remembers it, but if we have another hurricane, it's going to erode more of the canal away, which may undermine the structure in which I'm in right now. So water drainage is a major concern.
Okay. Anything else?
I will wait to see what the answers are.
All right. Thank you, sir. Who do we have next, Mary?
We just allowed the Paul Dobo in.
All right. Mr. Dobo, you have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record. You need to unmute, sir. Can you unmute him? Does he have to do it himself, Mary?
I'm unable to mute him.
Mr. Dobo, if you want to speak, you have to unmute. You there?
I can take him out and bring in the next person, and then I'll bring him back in.
Okay, let's go ahead.
That's a me. I can't hear. All right, no, I'm here.
Okay, he's speaking now.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Dobo. We need your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes, please.
I live at 5137 Bryant Avenue, right on the corner of Bryant Avenue and Midway Drive. This is really disturbing that's going on here with no notice, nothing. I came home from work and found survey sticks in front of my yard. That was very upsetting to me. And now you're going to sit here and tell me that you're going to put a road through here. We're going to have sewer lines and everything else. We don't want that. I've had that and I don't need it. That's why I'm here. Just like a lot of these people, we don't need this. We are very happy and satisfied with our lives the way it is, and then you're going to turn around and interrupt our lives. I am ready to retire, and I'm not going to be able to afford a high water bill like a lot of people are, and a lot of these people are not going to be able to afford a high water bill if we decide we want to put water in, and which we don't, because I'd be living like that right now. A lot of people here are very dissatisfied about everything that's going on. The traffic, yes. The traffic here is very bad as it is right now, and it's a very quiet neighborhood to live in. But having people going up and down the roads with their loud music going is very interrupting. I get that right now, and it's very disturbing to me with the little traffic that we have, because people are very inconsiderate and they do not care.
Right on the corner.
And the traffic for me is going to be worse, because you're only going to say you got 109 houses in there, and the traffic's going to be bad. Trying to get out onto Ronald Reagan at 7 o'clock in the morning, you know how many people are going to be trying to get in and out, and Ronald Reagan is very hard to get on right now because of the high traffic flow that's there, which we did not have 5 years ago. It's very difficult. We've had accidents right there at Ronald Reagan and County Home Road because of that new stuff. There. And not
Breaking up, Mr. Dobo.
not
I believe we've lost connection with Mr. Dobo. I can take him out, and we can try bringing him back in if you would like.
All right, let's try the next member of the public.
Okay, I'm bringing in Wayne Jones.
All right, Mr. Jones, please state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Wayne Jones. I live on Midway Drive, 2841 Midway Drive. I am the last house on Midway Drive before the drainage ditch that the other caller mentioned. I too am concerned about the drainage. There is a ditch, and we even called it a creek because we've seen fish in it, seen gators in it. I've been there a long time, and I've seen that crest up on top of my property before. And the water at Midway now, the drainage runs from the top all the way to the bottom through my property, has since I've been there. I'm concerned if they raise the grade of this neighborhood that they're bringing in now, that I'm going to be in the middle of water running two directions. So I would certainly have a large concern with that. I would like to know exactly what they're doing with the drainage, and are they familiar with the amount of water that comes through there and high participation events that we take, because I've certainly seen it pretty bad a few times. I don't live there. I rent it, but of course I care for this property. I have another concern about the water and sewage that's coming in. I would like to know, are we going to be forced to connect? Nobody has mentioned that, and at what price? Let's see. The right of way, I noticed on the drawing submitted by Daily Design that my side, the south side, seems to have a lot bigger piece than the north side. So I'm wondering why that is and how much of my yard I'm going to lose here. If the drawings are accurate, which I'm not sure they are. So yeah, I would like to know how far down it's going to extend from the existing street on the south side. And I too am concerned about traffic. I mean, everybody who owns property there, and I lived there many years, and I love that little neighborhood like a lot of other people do. The reason people live there, especially on Midway, which was a dead-end road, is the quiet and the peacefulness, which we are all losing. There's some value to that. So I would like that addressed. That's really all I have right now.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. What do we got next, Mary?
I just allowed in Carolyn DeWitt.
Ms. DeWitt, if you would state your name and address for the record, please. You have 3 minutes. Unmute yourself. Oh, there you go.
Yes, this is John Cass and Carolyn DeWitt. We are husband and wife. Our address is 5125 Bryant Avenue. We are on the corner of Bryant and Avalona. We own the two properties right adjoining there. Our main concern is the traffic. And then also, as the other gentleman just mentioned, the utilities. Are we going to be required to join the utilities? We're very happy with our setup right now. Mr. Stephen Smith mentioned a forgotten place. Well, that might be, but we have enjoyed that. You know, it's been a quiet, decent neighborhood with decent neighbors. So our main concern is, you know, the traffic. They are going to take, according to the survey, stakes that are in my yard, quite a bit to the east of there, and be close to the front of my current mobile home. So we're impacted quite a bit, being on the corner of Avalona and Bryant Avenue. So we are strongly disappointed in it. You know, you're looking at, they said 1,009 projected vehicles going down the road. Well, we're lucky, you know, to have maybe 200 or 300 at this time, but that would be in addition to that. And then again, the stormwater drain off is a big problem out here. Currently, they put berms in several years ago for the runoff coming down Bryant from the south towards the north, but then it momentarily floods our property on a heavy rain such as today, and then drains off. So there's several things that, you know, we dislike. The main ones being what I just mentioned, And the other thing is the letters from Daily Design Group and Matt Zembauer, you know, they're very generalized. Doesn't say what we're putting in, the roadway type, where the stormwater drain offs would be, and the likes of that. So I know when you go to pull a permit, you have to be very specific. And this proposal, we really don't know specifically what they're going to be doing. So that's our main concerns. And right, as at this time, we're opposed to it greatly.
Thank you, sir. What do we have next?
So I do have no other new hands. If you want, Mr. Dobo is still here if you want me to bring him back in.
Well, he had another 30 or 45 seconds. I don't know if he's got anything else he wants to add. I guess we could bring him back in and see if he's got anything else he wants to add.
So he is back in, but he'll need to unmute himself.
Okay. Mr. Dobo, you broke up on the last part of your presentation, but you had about 50 seconds or so left. Is there anything else you wanted to add or say?
I keep raising my damn hand. I said I keep raising my hand.
You're in. You're in. If you want to say anything, please do.
Yes.
Mr. Dobo, is there anything else you want to add?
Yes. What about the flood zone? This is a no flood zone, and when you put in this subdivision, is it going to flood? And from engineers and everything that they say the no flood zone's not going to flood, and the people years down the road find out that their houses are flooding because under engineering. And I had no problem, and none of the people here have any problems with flooding issues, and I don't think we should have that problem. And I'm afraid with this subdivision coming in, we're going to have that problem.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't understand having one entrance coming into a place and have traffic going in and out all day. It's unbelievable. There has to be another solution. I don't understand. You should go through the industrial park if you want to try and go through there. I don't have any I think it should go through the industrial park.
Okay. Your time is up, sir.
Because I really don't understand how you can be these houses and then put a road and how
Thank you.
trying to come to this neighborhood. This neighborhood's too nice, like peaceful, and that's what I like it.
Mr. Dobo, your time is up. I thank you. Thank you. We'll now bring the applicant back, and hopefully they can answer some of your questions.
I believe there's another gentleman who would like to speak. I'm going to bring him in, a Mr. Keith Hampton.
Okay, Mr. Hampton, please unmute. And you have, thank you, Mr. Dobo. Your time was up. If you would, thank you. Mr. Hampton, if you'd state your name and address for the record, you have 3 minutes, please. If you would unmute also. Mr. Hampton, can you unmute? Mr. Hampton? I guess, not working, Mary.
Okay, I'll take him back out here.
Okay. Anybody else?
I have no.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no other hand raised at this time.
All right. Tom, you want to answer some of the concerns here or address what was said by the public?
Am I good now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, first, I want to apologize to Mr. Jackson for not receiving any information on this. Like I said, we got a list from the county, 63 people, and you know, we studied it and we tried in every way to get the notifications out of what our intentions were. You know, relative to the details that were brought up about, you know, what are you doing from Mr. Cass and Ms. DeWitt, you know, we are in the process of doing that. The survey stakes that you see out there are so that we can better understand, you know, where the drainage goes, where the road is relative to the right of way itself, how we improve that, you know, to the least impactful way possible for y'all. With regards to utilities, we definitely bringing fire hydrants out there. There are no fire hydrants out there, and like I said before, they're all mobile homes, which I think would probably be, you know, an issue from a life safety perspective. But I don't know if the county is going to require them to tie into water. We've offered to put stubs in, you know, for the various lot owners, but that's really a county call whether the county is going to require anybody to tie into water and sewer. And I'm not sure based on the lot sizes, if the septic tanks are up, the drain fields and the lot area, it's up to current code. That's really between the county and your community. You know, it's not our intent to force you to do anything. Certainly, you know, we have to provide those services, and especially the fire hydrants. Regarding drainage, I don't know, Mary, can you put back up any of the exhibits that we showed before, or are we beyond that?
Is this a closed system, Tom?
No, and if you go to the next one with this, not the site plan, but you can go to the that one there. There, that's good. Everything flows south. There is a ditch / creek that kind of cuts off Sunnyland from Midway. South Street has a small crossing over it, but everything from our site goes in, you know, to the wetland, flows south and underneath the railroad track. That's just the natural flow of drainage system out there. When I first got involved, I was noticed, the landowner told me that crossing on South Street actually failed during a hurricane, and that the current landowner, Mr. Prager, of the property we're working on, had actually allowed residents to go into his property to go up Common Stable to get out. So we understand that there's an existing drainage issue. When we cross Midway, we're going to have to put in the adequate pipes. We're going to have to put in the adequate stormwater to get that water better, you know, more flow through it. We will be working with the county with South Street crossing also. So the things we know right now is that the water drains pretty much from north to south. Our property will drain south of Midway Park into this canal, creek, whatever you want to call it. And anything that we do is going to be an attempt to improve that situation, whether it be to, you know, put swales in, whether it be to raise roadway grades, expand pipes to, you know, include a better flow through that area. I think one of the, Mr. Jones might have brought it up. Well, one of the residents about flood zone. None of this shows up on the FEMA maps or the county flood maps. And yet, because of whatever constrictions there are to the flow of that water coming from Ronald Reagan south through this community, there's obviously some isolated issues. And I want to commit to the folks that live in Midway Park that we're going to be working with the county engineers to try to solve problems, not create some, with regards to that. You know, with regards to the access and all of that, I do understand that, you know, we're going to be bringing traffic through your neighborhood. But there's a provision in this development order that we want to do some enhancements. We want to do some street trees. We want to do, some areas where we can fence and do certain things. But we only have the county right of way to work. And so part of what we're going to be working towards with the preliminary subdivision plan, which is when all this data will be available, we're going to be requesting from the county to, see if we can plant some street trees, see if we can do certain things that will at least improve the aesthetics of the area. Like I said, I realize that people live there. Some of the homes are well kept, some are not. Those are challenges for everybody. But it's not our intent to completely disrupt your community. And I understand that, any more cars coming down those streets is potentially changing the character. But we have only one way in and one way out, legal access. And
Mary, can you go back to that map, please? You really don't, Tom. I want to ask you a question. If Mary would go back to that. Look, let me ask you a question, Tom. Gardens Drive is a 50-foot right-of-way, okay?
Right.
And hardly anybody fronts that. But then it runs into South Street, which is only a 30-foot. So what would happen if you brought all your utilities down the way you're proposing now as an entry point, because the right-of-way is big enough to handle the water and the force main, but you used Gardens Drive and South Street as your access? You have a 30-foot right-of-way, which is big enough for curb and gutter and a 24-foot of pavement, but you don't have put any utilities in there. Might that work? Is that?
Well,
and then the traffic, nobody lives hardly seems to front South Street or Gardens Drive. Would that work? And then bring the utilities down the other way.
that was our preferred access and alignment. The problem was with the 30-foot right-of-way. And according to county standards, 30-foot is not adequate to subdivide this property that we're working on.
Okay.
And
Let me ask another question then, and maybe our engineer will have to pipe in. This is a one access community for 100 and some watts. What's code? I don't believe that's appropriate. I think you need 2 access points, don't you, for emergency? Bill, can you comment on that? Tom, you know the answer to that?
Yeah, I can. Well, no, we don't require the 2 access points, but we do require the minimum 50-foot right of way for access to.
We don't require more than 1 access for emergency basis on over this many lots.
Well, I would have to refer that to our fire and safety.
What's our code say?
I don't know of it in the code that we require more than a single access for 109 units.
So it's an open question. All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Tom, go ahead.
No, that's okay. And that's, like I said, we've done the research on the title work out there on South Street. We've with Bill's office, tried to see if South Street was a reasonable way that we could access the site. And it was determined, no. And so Midway is the only alternative that we have. And so, with regards to county, we had talked about what Mr. German has suggested about making a utility corridor, footway corridor, but we just don't meet county code, and it's not something that's available to us, fortunately.
I have a question, Tom. So you couldn't acquire 20-foot of right-of-way by the county to use South Street from the, it looks like the undeveloped property to the, I guess that'd be to the north, or is that the south? Towards the industrial park, you couldn't acquire 20-foot of right-of-way?
I know that our clients had reached out to a number of people along that corridor, and the one landowner that was, there wasn't a lot of cooperation.
You got about 26 owners there, Steve. That'd be unless they could do it from the south side, that'd be.
That's what I'm looking at, that unimproved land to the south that comes in by the industrial park behind it.
There is a home kind of on the eastern portion of South Street, and that's just not a cooperative individual, from my understanding. We've been looking at this for a while, and trying to find out what are our alternatives.
All right, so, Tom, let me ask you another question. So you've got approximately, according to the traffic study, 1,088 trips a day coming through Midway Drive, Bryant Drive, according to your traffic study. What type of improvement are you making for them to get in and out of Ronald Reagan Boulevard at that point, other than just a stop sign?
Well, on Ronald Reagan, there's a median opening at Avalona. There's tape. This is for southbound Ronald Reagan. And a big turn lane, big stacking. It was designed for more than what it's got today, that's for sure. But as part of our, so really southbound coming in, I think, and the southbound heading out has already been just baked into the design of Ronald Reagan. Relative to what we do at Avalona, there's already a stop sign there. If we're required to put acceleration lanes in, if there's things that the traffic engineers, when we do the PSP, require us to do, we'll do it.
But Tom, let me ask, interrupt a little bit here. The intersection, I mean, what you got, the way you got it drawn with the yellow road there looks very nice, but that's really not what it's all about, I don't think. I mean, Bryan, Richland, and Avalona, the way they meet up, I mean, if you look at the aerial without the yellow covering it, that's a friggin' nightmare waiting to happen. Have you guys looked at that intersection at Richland, Avalona, and Bryant? Do we have an aerial that everybody could see, Mary, without that yellow on it? There we go. You see,
oh yeah.
Richland. I mean, I don't know how that's all going to work.
That's quite the intersection, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Like I said, there are challenges as we move forward. We're surveying all of that right now. And once we get the ground truthing of where everything is and where the rights of way actually are, we're going to have to, see how we can make that intersection safer. Because right now it exists. And it's all cold paved road. Some of the road is, not built exactly in the center of the right of way, for sure, because it's been around for a long time. So these are all things that, yes, we understand we have to address, but from a land use perspective and from a zoning perspective, we have a low density residential on the north side, about 15 acres there, and we got industrial. That's what we have today. And so by going PD, we are allowing the county to, make specific requirements when we get to the preliminary subdivision. Now, I wish I had more answers for you on that, but again, we're surveying it right now. We want to see where all the driveways are. We want to see where everything is. So when it comes back to you, we're going to have answers. And I guess.
Go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, relative to when we start developing that, we will certainly share with everybody that we set out to, and we will include Mr. Jackson if we didn't, all of the detailed information that we have. If possible, if we're beyond COVID, we'll certainly have a community meeting. But in lieu of that, we'll do everything we can and work with county engineering to get the word out as to what the proposals are, what we're going to be proposing, what we're going to do for improvements.
Mary, if I could ask you a question, what's the, this is a large scale, land use amendment. What's it, when's transmission time these days and how long would that part take?
So we would send it, first it goes to the Board of County Commission, and if they choose to transmit it, they have 30 days. The state has 30 days to get back to us once they receive our transmittal package. And then within 120 days after we receive their letter of comment, we have to have the second public hearing.
Okay, so we're out there 3 or 4 or 5 months just on the land use amendment, correct?
That sounds, yeah, about right.
Okay. I mean, Tom, I really, this is a tough piece of land and I'm sympathetic. I'd like to help here, but I don't think you got enough information. You're still doing a lot of work yourself to have the right answers. I'd be in favor of maybe approving your land use amendment and let them get started so they can transmit that. And then we'll just vote on the zoning later and all that while you're working on how you're going to do this. Well, I don't know whether that makes any sense or not.
Well, like I said, Mr. German, we if there are provisions in the development order that we wanted to make sure that at least address these issues. You're right. We're going to have transmittal September 22nd. We're probably not going to have adoption until Thanksgiving, around that time frame. We can certainly make commitments.
Well, I mean, that would give you more time maybe to fine tune your development order and understand the utilities a little better and maybe look harder at the roadways. Maybe there's a better way to do it. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out. You got a tough piece here, and I think you're entitled to probably get what you want, but I don't know, if there's a lot of unanswered questions here and you got a lot of concerned people, that's kind of the way I feel about it. I don't let the board also kind of make a comment if anybody wants to.
Honestly, myself, I mean, I just can't imagine living in there as peaceful as it has been for the last almost, 94 years. And all of a sudden you're getting 1,100 cars a day come by your house. I would have an issue with it. As a landowner and a resident in there, I'd have a huge issue with it. But that's just my feeling. I hate to see something like this just for the purpose of cramming 106 houses in someplace. And that's basically what this is like. Well, it's a piece of property, let's cram some houses in, and the heck with the people, we're just going to shove 1,100 cars through their front yard every day. So that's my feelings on it.
Well, and I understand. And again, we still are at zoning level. And, part of this, guys, is that, when you start, you have to get certain levels of comfort moving forward in order to spend the real money to do the full analysis on it, right? And the transmittal process is where we feel now we're moving forward in a good direction. We can spend the money on survey, utility, studies and all that kind of stuff. But I would urge, no matter what the board does today, it's going to be back in front of you as a preliminary subdivision plan at a minimum. I'd encourage you to go out there and take a look. And I'd encourage you to look at the current conditions and try to visualize what could be done to make it a little bit better situation. And again, I understand, Commissioner Smith, it is a quiet neighborhood, but it's underdeveloped, it's underserved, there's no water, no fire hydrants, substandard roads, there's flooding, there's all sorts of things going on here that we, as poor guys that are stuck behind it, have to address.
Yeah.
It's our only legal access. So even if we don't do the transmittal or the industrial, I've still got 15, 16 acres of upland pasture that has access to Midway. And at some point, they're going to utilize that, whether it's 50 cars a day, 200 cars a day. It's going to happen, in my mind.
Tom, I think, I'd be willing to really move your land use amendment along and get it transmitted and all that. I think you got enough, it bothers me, you got enough unanswered questions for your development order. I mean, so to give you full PD zoning right now, you can't get it anyway. You got to wait till the damn transmittal comes back and approved. That I'd really like to see you guys look at maybe what I talked about, the gardens, and figuring out if you could use South Drive, which would solve everybody's problems. I'm worried about that intersection at Richland, Avalona, and Bryan. I mean, you're just kind of trying to put a square peg in a round hole here, but yet I'm very sympathetic because the piece of land, the guy's entitled to try to do something, and it's kind of one of those painted in the corner deals. I don't know. Anybody else? Carissa, you got anything you want to add?
No, I agree with what you're saying. I am concerned that this property owner does have the right to do something with his property. And, if this is the only access, and it seems like there could be more discussion maybe put towards it, or take a look at the points you're talking about. But something's going to go there. There are going to be additional cars that go through, maybe not as many as what's proposed here. I'd be comfortable with what you're suggesting. Going forward with the land use amendment and postponing the zoning.
Tom, how do you feel about that?
Well, if you're going to recommend approval of transmittal, I'm happy. I'm not excited about a delay, but I think we might be able to bring forward the zoning between the time, once we get it transmitted, we can probably come back with some better information. In fact, what I might end up doing is, coupling the zoning with, some of the PSP information so that we know.
I'd be comfortable with that. I mean,
Sounds
if we
great.
go ahead and approve your transmission now, that gives you a month or two you don't have to wait till it comes back. You could bring the zoning forward in the next, I just don't think you got enough information to make everybody comfortable. That's just for the zoning part of it, for your development order.
Now, just Mary, if you could clarify for me, this is going forward, the zoning and the comp plan to the Board of County Commissioners, but the Planning and Zoning Commission will be recommending to postpone the zoning. Is that how it's going to work?
No,
So we-
Tom, what I would recommend, let me interrupt you, Mary, I'm sorry. I would recommend that we approve your comp plan amendment and we table your zoning. We'll table it to the next regularly scheduled meeting. You'll see what more information you develop and you'll come back next month. And if you're ready, or we feel that you figured out enough of the information there, maybe you looked at the alternatives we talked about, so forth and so on, then maybe we can go forward. Maybe we go another month. I mean, that's what I would like to see.
So, Mr. Chairman, and I believe we may need the attorney to step in, because of the way the BCC is scheduled, we do have this scheduled for the September 22nd BCC meeting, and it was advertised as a rezone and transmittal for comp plan. So I'm not sure the procedures for that, as it's already been advertised.
Paul Chipok, Deputy County Attorney. The way it's advertised is the rezoning, or excuse me, the future land use is to seek a low density residential. So it's not dependent specifically on the PD at this point in time. So you could move forward independently on just the future land use amendment right now. Although it has been advertised together, you can always take action on less, but you can't take action on more.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
Any other comments of the board?
Yeah, I mean, I think based on cadence and some of the other projects in there, this looks like something that, we would generally approve if we could work out the access. Not even sure if that's really what we're supposed to be deciding, though. It's just, the future land use and if it's compatible. But I would agree with going forward the way you're suggesting and tabling the zoning till next month.
I do have one comment. I think Tom brought up something that we probably should do is that area back in there, if you've ever accidentally pulled down that road, that is not very well. Those roads are very old and drainage is terrible. I would suggest that during this time, if we're going to table it, go over, we'll just go and take a trip at least at some point on our own to drive through there. Because I think what Tom has eloquently spoken, and he knows what he's doing, it sounds like, he's going to develop all that. So these property owners, yes, they might get some cars. They're going to get a lot of cars to their neighborhood. Improvements. And those improvements will benefit their property. And I think it'll look much better, much safer. And that intersection, I mean, we could always put a light in there at some point. That'd be up to the traffic. But I think Tom's got a good point there, and we probably ought to go take a look at it.
Well, if everybody will indulge me, if I could pass the gavel to Carissa so I can make a motion. Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
I'd like to.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize to interrupt you here, but I did want to point out that there was a phone call that we received, and I believe it was Mr. Hampton trying to get in. I don't know if you would like to hear his comments or not.
Sure, we should hear his comments.
So this is a phone call, so if they will hit *6 to unmute themselves, they will be unmuted.
And if you'd state your name and address for the record, if you could unmute yourself, sir. *6. *6. Oh, there we go.
Hello.
Name and address for the record, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Keith Hampton. My wife, Tina, and I live at 2850 Midway Drive and own the vacant property at 2870 Midway Drive. We have 200 feet on Midway Drive. I would like to speak in opposition of the Hidden Oak subdivision, not opposing the subdivision so much as the changes to Midway Park to access the subdivision. We moved to Midway Park in 1991, onto our property in 1997 that we're currently on, and then chose to build our house in 2002 because of the, quote, country, unquote, feel, seclusion, and low traffic of a dead-end street. I feel that we will lose more than we will gain. Mr. Daly never mentioned about having to build a bridge from Midway Drive over to the other Midway Drive to access the property. Some questions that I and others have that aren't able to, get on. How will this directly affect our property, such as taxes and property values? Will part of our property be taken for the project, which some of that's been answered? What about trees that currently line our property lines? Will they be removed? Kind of find it ironic that the subdivision to be called Hidden Oaks, but we stand to lose several large oak trees that line our street. And, we got red-tailed hawks, owls, squirrels, other stuff out here. And like the other gentleman said, we received the layout of the subdivision itself, but never seen anything that shows exactly what the road changes would entail. The letter we received from Daily Design Group did not mention the forecasted 1,088 daily trips added to the roadways. This was only conveyed to us by the county. At this time, we may have 10 people go by our house on Midway Drive. That's a long way from 1088. I don't know anybody, including anybody on staff, that will want another 1,088 vehicles going in and out of their subdivision. And the other roads that lead into Midway Park from Ronald Reagan, if this project is approved, should they not be approved as well? It's very doubtful that all Hidden Oaks traffic will only use the proposed improved roads to access the subdivision. And I thank you for the opportunity to express my concerns and questions.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Mary, anybody else?
I don't have any new raised hands.
All right, then I'll pass the gavel again. I'll try again to make a motion. I'd like to move that we recommend the county commission approve the large-scale future land use map amendment from low-density residential and industrial to low-density residential for the Hidden Oak subdivision. And I would like to recommend that we table the associated rezone from A1 agriculture and M1 industrial to PD plan development for 109 single lot family residential subdivision on 21.52 acres to our next regularly scheduled meeting in October. I'm not sure of the date, but whatever that is. That's my motion. Anybody want a second or? All right, Walter second. Any discussion? Carissa, Steve?
Nah.
Okay, then I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, the motion carries 3-1. So we recommend transmittal to the county commission, and we postpone the zoning until our next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
And for the record, that meeting is October 7th.
Oh, thank you. Would you put that in the minutes, Tammy, please? Thank you. Anybody else got anything else they want to say? That was a tough deal.
I'm going to take a ride out there, though. I want to look at their subdivision and look at those roads before we get it back in front of us.
I think,
I'll be doing that too.
Steve, I got to take a ride. That's a necessity. I mean,
Yeah.
I think this is so complicated. We got to go see it.
I think so. Yep. Field trip.
Your field trip. There we go. This is, anyway. Looking for my agenda. Does staff have any reports or comments or anything that they want to say? You wanted to say something, I think. Rebecca did or Mary did. I'm not sure which.
I apologize. I can't find my mute button here. You all were sent an email about the 5 Thursdays in October, which is for planning officials training. That would be on the every 5th Thursday in October. So the 1st, 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 20th. You can do all 5 courses for $50 or just one course for $10. If you're interested, please let me know. The county does have budgeted for training sessions. So we do have this in our budget for you all.
Don't everybody jump at once.
Thank you, Mary. Yeah, I'm going to look over it. I think a couple of them I might be able to, transportation. I get a lot of that at MetroPlan. But some of it looks real interesting, and I will go over it and let you know which ones I'd be interested in.
And you guys can see me now. So the other thing that I wanted to point out is that the commission is trying what we are calling a hybrid meeting. So they will be in person and then have some either telephonic or Zoom capabilities. If they are successful with their November meetings, we will most likely be emulating that format as well. So hopefully in a month, I'll be actually able to see everybody for that as well.
That would be nice.
September meetings. Sorry, Mary.
Yeah, September meetings. Yes, the BCC September meetings.
Mary, I want to thank you for all these months of, this has been a interesting process, and you've done a great job managing this process. Yeah. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And then I will also like to thank the entire staff. It's not just me. It really does take an effort to make sure all of these meetings go off. So thank you to both the planning staff and our SGTV and IT staff as well.
Anybody got anything else?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Have a great Labor Day. Okay, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. I don't think there's any objections. We will adjourn. Thank you all.
All right.
Everyone.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.